Have you ever stayed in a relationship, a job, or a situation that you knew wasn't right, but told yourself, it's okay, it's not that bad? You noticed the red flags, you saw the inconsistencies, you knew deep down that something was wrong, and yet, you stayed. That's what psychologists might jokingly call the crab stick effect, a funny name for a very real behavior. Crab sticks, as you might know, don't actually contain crab. People know that. It's written on the label. Yet they still buy them. Why? Because it's easier than dealing with the discomfort of change. Similarly, in life, we often choose comfort over truth. We accept situations that don't serve us because admitting the truth would mean we have to do something about it. And taking action means risk, effort, and uncertainty. All things our brain instinctively avoids. The crab stick effect shows up in relationships. Maybe you know your partner isn't really compatible with you. Maybe they disrespect you, neglect your needs, or even manipulate you. But you stay. You tell yourself, it's not ideal, but at least I'm not alone. You justify it by saying, everyone has problems. You trade your emotional health for temporary stability. It happens at work too. You know your job is leading nowhere. You do tasks that feel pointless. Your manager is dismissive. You're unappreciated. But quitting feels risky. What if the next job is worse? What if you can't find one at all? So you stay. You keep doing the same things, hoping something changes, even when it never does. Sometimes we even lie to ourselves about our health, our habits, our goals. We say we'll start exercising next month. We say we'll talk to a therapist when things get less busy. We say we're fine when we're not. We accept low standards not because we like them, but because we fear the alternative. The psychology behind this is well known. Our brains are wired to seek consistency and avoid discomfort. Psychologists call it status quo bias. Basically, we prefer things to stay the same, even when the current situation isn't good. Change feels threatening. It forces us to question our decisions, take responsibility, and possibly face failure. There's also the concept of sunk cost fallacy. That's when we continue investing in something just because we've already put so much into it. You stay in a bad relationship because it's been 5 years. You keep working at a toxic job because you've been there a decade. You don't want your past to feel wasted, so you sacrifice your future. But here's the cost of doing that: time. Every day you stay in a situation that drains you is a day you could have spent building something better. Comfort can be deceptive. It tells you, this is fine. It numbs you. And before you know it, years pass. You wake up wondering how you got here. So how do we break out of the crab stick effect? Step 1. Awareness. You have to be honest with yourself. Ask, am I pretending this is okay because it really is, or because I'm afraid to admit it's not? That single question can uncover a lot. Step 2. Assess the trade-off. What are you gaining by staying in this situation? And what are you losing? Be specific. Is it worth your mental health, your potential, your peace of mind? Step 3. Take small steps. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow or break up overnight, but you can update your resume. You can start setting boundaries. You can talk to someone. Small actions build momentum, and momentum builds change. Change doesn't have to be dramatic or destructive. Sometimes it's a quiet decision you make to stop pretending, to stop tolerating things that don't serve you, to finally give yourself permission to want more. The crab stick effect can also appear in family dynamics. Maybe you avoid confronting a relative who constantly crosses your boundaries. You laugh off their behavior even when it hurts. You say, that's just how they are, to avoid conflict. But each time you excuse their actions, you reinforce the idea that your comfort doesn't matter. Over time, that erodes your self-worth. Society plays a role too. We're often taught to prioritize harmony over honesty. We're encouraged to keep the peace, to avoid rocking the boat. But there's a difference between being kind and being passive. Avoiding truth isn't kindness, it's self-abandonment. In some cases, we tolerate lies because we've been conditioned to believe we don't deserve better. Childhood experiences, past trauma, and toxic environments can all create a false narrative in our minds that asking for more is selfish, or that being uncomfortable is normal. If no one ever modeled healthy boundaries or self-respect, it's easy to accept dysfunction as the default. Recognizing the crab stick effect requires courage. It's not easy to admit you've been lying to yourself, but it's also freeing. Once you see the pattern, you can choose differently. You can say, "This isn't enough for me anymore." You can stop accepting substitutes for the life you truly want. Here's the thing. Growth always requires discomfort. There's no way around it. Real change challenges your routines, your identity, even your relationships. It forces you to confront fears you've been avoiding for years. But on the other side of that fear is freedom, and clarity, and peace. The people who break the cycle don't do it because they're fearless. They do it because they're tired of living a life that doesn't align with their values. They decide that honesty, even when painful, is better than a comfortable lie. They understand that discomfort is temporary, but regret lasts much longer. You might be wondering, what if I make a change and it turns out worse? That's a valid fear. But here's a more important question. What if you stay the same and nothing ever gets better? That's not just fear, that's a guarantee. Sometimes the only way forward is through discomfort, through the awkward conversations, through the scary decisions, through the messy middle. But that's where growth lives. That's where authenticity begins. That's where the old self ends, and the real self begins to emerge. Final thought. Life is too short to settle for crab sticks when what you really want is real crab. Stop telling yourself it's fine when it's not. The longer you lie to yourself, the harder it becomes to change. Comfort is not the same as happiness. Familiarity is not the same as safety, and calling something good enough doesn't make it true. Choose honesty, choose growth, choose truth, even when it's uncomfortable, because facing the truth might be hard, but living a lie will always cost more. So next time you catch yourself tolerating something that doesn't feel right, remember the crab stick effect. Ask yourself if you're accepting less because you've convinced yourself that it's easier, and then choose something better, not because it's easy, but because it's honest. And that's where your real life begins.